Hello, and welcome back to another Weekly Tao exploration. I'm Courtney.
I'm Eric.
And today we're diving into Chapter 8 of the Tao Te Ching, which is our church's primary text. We explore it on Sunday service and here with you. And we also talk about other spiritual teachings and our own life experience. So thanks for being with us. Let's dive in. A person of great virtue is like the flowing water. Water benefits all things and contends not with them. It puts itself in a place that no one wishes to be, and thus is closest to Tao. A virtuous person is like water, which adapts itself to the perfect place. His mind is like the deep water that is calm and peaceful. His heart is kind like water that benefits all. His words are sincere like the constant flow of water. His governing is natural without desire, which is like the softness of water that penetrates through hard rocks. His work is of talent like the free flow of water. His movement is of right timing like water that flows smoothly. A virtuous person never forces his way and hence will not make faults. How does that land with you?
Flows more than lands.
Flows like water?
Yeah. I would actually love for you to share what you were just sharing before we turned the camera on. I think that was a really powerful way to relate to the text.
Okay. So as I'm reading this, I feel in my body, like I feel my heart respond to this one. We were just talking in the last episode of our weekly Tao discussion about coming from the heart. That's something that Eric brought up. And so that's fresh on my mind. And I'm also reading the Gospel of Mary. And as I've looked into the etymology of the name Mary and breaking that down, mare can be translated into water, mermaids, maritime, and so much of her teaching is teaching about listening to the heart, essentially, is how I interpret it, and coming from a place of love. So if I replace water in this chapter with love, it makes a whole lot of sense to me. So I'll read it again, but replacing the word water with love. A person of great virtue is like flowing love. Love benefits all things and contends not with them. It puts itself in a place that no one wishes to be and thus is closest to Tao. A virtuous person is like love, which adapts itself to the perfect place. His mind is like deep love that is calm and peaceful. His heart is kind like love that benefits all. His words are sincere like the constant flow of love. His governing is natural without desire, which is like the softness of love that penetrates through hard rocks. His work is of talent, like the free flow of love. His movement is of right timing, like love that flows smoothly. A virtuous person never forces his way and hence will not make faults.
Grandmother is so much of what I just felt so deeply as you were reading, and not just now. Even the first reading is like I wasn't able to identify it then, but that's like so much of what I feel is this like sense of grandmother's care. This is one of my favorite passages from the Tao, and my inability to speak to it is part of that, right? Like this book is so powerful because it'll just shut you up if you really sit with it. Like you just like nothing more can be said. You just have to sit with the words and feel them.
Mm-hmm.
It almost like I could feel myself like it could bring me to tears, this passage here, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we just sit here in silence for the next 20 minutes.
Weep silently together.
How would y'all like that? The water coming from my eyes.
There you go, right?
Sometimes the best way to teach is to just be it.
Indeed.
So what comes up for us in our own lives? Like, what's a way in which we have turned to flowing like water? And
well, I think more of the times than I don't, honestly, because it's not natural for us. How many of you don't react? How many of us like really don't react to situations, but sit with it lovingly and respond in a loving way? It's really difficult to do. I just hearing this, in cultivating your mind, know how to dive to the hidden deeps. In dealing with others, know how to be gentle and kind. In speaking, know how to keep your words. It's almost like the opposite of what we normally think.
yeah. So, well, turning back briefly to the Gospel of Mary, which is one of those parts of Jesus's teachings. Jesus, whoever that was not included in the canonized Bible. But turning back to that briefly, there's a part of it which I really relate to, where Mary is telling about after, Jesus was crucified and then moved on to the next lifetime, how all of his disciples were so upset, and they were turning to her and saying, Mary, like, teach us. You're the one now to pass on all the teachings that Jesus didn't pass on to us, because you were the one closest to him. Some of them didn't like that very much. And so she starts sharing this teaching basically of the heart. And Peter and Andrew get upset, and they're like, well, why didn't Jesus tell us about this? You're telling us that for the first time you're going to teach in this way that he never has. And she's upset and starts crying and is like, I can't believe you don't trust me. Like, I was closest to him and you're asking me and I'm telling you. And the way that, and then another disciple, I'm blanking on his name right now, steps up and is like, hey, listen to her. Come on. Like, we need to trust her. She was closest to him. Let's listen and learn. This is an opportunity for us to learn. And the way that I interpret that as maybe not necessarily an actual historical recounting, but maybe a tale of our own internal experience of the heart speaking, and our mind, maybe we could say that's Jesus, our consciousness, or the thinking mind, maybe having just that interplay of the heart and then our thinking mind, and having trouble really listening to the heart, and that whole interplay of that human, very human experience. That maybe that's a big part of what we're here to experience.
I mean, this one here says again, in speaking, know how to keep your words. So, like, it's saying, know how to be quiet when you're speaking.
From that, I hear it's kind of back to our last discussion about our last Weekly Tao exploration. Where are we coming from? when we're speaking.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to speak to communicate. This was, I encouraged from our reading, Power versus Force, Sunday service, to be aware of the power of our presence. And so I challenged our congregation, audience, membership, those who were present yesterday for that Sunday service. I challenged them to go into their week and try and experience the power of their presence. So going into a coffee shop where you normally go, or whatever environment, and think about it, when we go into rooms where there are other people, we very often, oh, hey, who, yeah, and whether or not we're doing that to feel good about ourselves or help other people, whatever, if we go in quietly, though, if we go into those rooms and we don't say a word and we just sit there and smile, like, you can feel yourself impact the space. And sometimes it's much more powerful to not say anything, be that water.
I think about parenting here as well. Practically bringing this back into our own lived experience, that the difference between speaking louder to try and get our kids to listen versus getting quieter to get our kids to listen. And again, the intention behind that, because that can be used in not giving ways as well to get quieter. Yeah, but the flow, bringing it to the flow, like what feels like, this is so much about feeling, this passage, coming back to just feeling, coming out of here and into what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And noticing how it feels to engage in whatever way it is. And I think about, with parenting, like, when I get louder, how does that feel? Does that feel like I'm creating, or like I'm going with the flow? Or does it feel like I'm trying to force and block?
Well, it's worth noting that water crashes. Water can be very powerful. Waves can have some very almost destructive is a good word to use, force. So when I've sat with this metaphor, as I have a fair amount, that does come up. And sometimes mama has to lay the smack down too, but intentions, where's it coming from?
Right. Exactly.
It's huge.
Because if it feels like, yep, that felt like, when I feel that whole, in reflection, that whole dynamic out, when my daughter didn't want to put her clothes on and we're 5 minutes late or whatever, and I've been the gentle flowing stream and it's not going anywhere, then getting a little more assertive. Yeah, that does feel like the flowing inflow thing to do. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does.
Right.
So
that's in dealing with, or in governing, know how to maintain order. It's the same. Like, sometimes order requires swift, decisive action. Sometimes order requires slow distillation. And one of the great powers behind the Tao Te Ching and even the teachings of Taoism themselves is that to learn these principles, it requires us to go be in nature. We can talk about water all we want. You can go turn on a faucet. It's not going to be the same thing. Go sit by, well, I mean, go sit. There's a whole metaphor there, but like go sit by a creek, go sit by a waterfall, and like really be with it. Watch all the little places where, like it's talking about where water will find a little crack and just seep in and just settle in. Watch the places where as water is just over time there. And even if you sit there for 10 or 15 minutes, you'll see like a little dirt will give away, a little erosion will happen, right? It'll deposit somewhere else. There's like there are these constant, subtle adjustments that are happening. And then when there's more force, then that changes. But the teacher is within us. It's all around us all the time. We have such a tendency to go out seeking leaders, and there's a reason why religion is the most profitable industry, because people are looking for answers outside of themselves. And in many ways we've just been conditioned to believe that that's how it happens, but Taoism teaches that it is all within you. It is all observable through nature. That's why the main book of one of the oldest spiritual and deepest spiritual philosophies is 81 passages long, and it's done. Like, there are other Taoist texts, there are other Taoist philosophers, but a lot of the conversation, even in those texts, is like, you don't need this. You don't even need this conversation. It's already written down. If you really need a written book to go to, it's over there. Other than that, go sit in nature. Go sit in a crowd and observe people. It's the greatest teacher is always with us. And it doesn't matter what the environment is that we're in. It's just, I love this passage because it just is it's so rich and empowering, and it just speaks to the primacy of direct experience rather than someone else telling you how it is.
Yep, I love it. Well, if you'd like to flow like water into our Sunday service this coming Sunday, you can find the link to our public events calendar at Psanctuary, which includes the Sunday service Zoom information every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Pacific time. We'd love to have you join in on meditation. We have a blessing and 2 readings, one of which is the Tao Te Ching, and another one is rotating. So inspired from the Tao Te Ching, just another way to look at life. And a night, we'd love to have you there and hear your perspective, which is very unique. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next weekly Tao exploration.